YouTube boxing fans across the world, YouTube world, what's happening? You know who it is, you know what it is. Boxing After Dark. I'm your host, Nocturnal Thoughts. Salute to all my new subscribers. I appreciate you. To all my old subscribers, all my day one subscribers, I see you. I salute you. I appreciate you. Know that. So, real quick video. Bow. Then I'm going to get out the way. Saul Alvarez, Canelo, with a unanimous decision, total domination of Caleb Smith. Let's talk about it. Now, normally, right after a fight and someone's victorious, my main thing is let this person reflect and enjoy his victory. You know, I don't like to press. I don't like when someone comes off with a big victory and then the very next day, the very next question that's thrown in his face is who's next? What you gonna do next? You know what I'm saying? I feel like every fighter, after going through that rigorous training, going through, camp, and then going through the actual fight, they should deserve the opportunity to relax and reflect and unwind, unpack, instead of trying to create this post-traumatic stress syndrome mentality of as soon as I get out of this war, as soon as I finish this battle, I go into the next battle. I go into the next battle. You know what I'm saying? I like to say a man should be able to go home and spend the time and unwind and do some of the things that he likes to do in his leisure. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to break that rule. I'm going to make an exception for myself in that case just a little bit for Saul Canelo Alvarez. And I'm going to ask the question, who's next and what's next for Canelo Alvarez? Because, right now, he's one of the most accomplished boxers. He is the most accomplished boxer in today's time. And he has more options than any other boxing that stretches over multiple weight classes, and he can choose top fighters out of each weight class and have some phenomenal, very attractive, very lucrative fights ahead of his career. He's only 30 years old, and he's fought from welterweight all the way up to light heavyweight. So let's talk about a little bit of the past, present, and the future. And I'm going to get out the way, try to condense this thing down, right? So he can pick and choose from Errol Spence, David Benavidez, Billy Joe Saunders, Caleb Plant, Jamar Charlo. I'm sure the list goes on, but I'm going to do the top 5 from right off the top of my brain. Arthur Beterbiev, I'm saying his name wrong, Beterbiev, right? Now, I read an article after the victory, and I'm not going to be able to recall who wrote it, but it was kind of negative. It was kind of diminishing the accomplishments of Canelo Saul Alvarez. Like the first paragraph was, after Canelo Alvarez showed that he couldn't, show power in his punches against Caleb Smith, it shows why he gave up his light heavyweight championship and played with that belt like a hot potato in order to dodge better beef. And it went on to say how his performance against Caleb Smith showed that he picked the weakest. He was an opportunist. He strategically was an opportunist and picked someone that he knew he could defeat. And I've heard some whispers in the leaves that that was a fixed fight, and things of that nature. And this is how I look at it. Looking at Caleb Smith, he had some big advantages. Obviously bigger, obviously reach advantage, and he was not able to capitalize. I even seen some people say that his punches didn't seem like they had any pop to them. And when I watched that fight, to me, the first half of that fight, he was doing the same thing he has done in other fights and knocked guys out with. I seen some double hooks. I seen him trying to dig to the body. I think his punches had some decent snap to him. But the thing is, Canelo walked through those shots, ate those shots, kept walking his man down. And Canelo, his shots that he hit Smith with to the body, breaking him down, was literally breaking him down and taking the wind out of his sails. I saw Canelo fight probably one of the most phenomenal fights I've seen in a while. Barred maybe Charlo versus Tony Harrison, part two. That was just a beautiful fight. I loved how that fight played out. It was like a revenge served on a cold dish type of a fight. So anyway, but you're gonna get that. You're gonna get the people that put that fight on the pedestal. You're gonna get people that can find ways to criticize that fight and everything in between. I look at it as a good fight. I thought it was a phenomenal fight. You can kind of, oh yeah, Triple G. Another opponent out there is the trilogy with Triple G. I thought in comparison to what Triple G did with Zaramento, I know I'm saying his name wrong, Zaramenta. I thought that fight, even though it was a stoppage, it just seemed like to me Triple G looked a little rusty. He looked a little laboring. He looked good, but he looked like his age is just starting to peek through and show through little cracks and crevices of, from what he used to be to what he is now, 38 years old. And also his opponent didn't offer much. His opponent was undefeated, but he seemed like his punch resistance was just a little bit better. This is an insult, but it just was a little bit better than the Nate Robinson's punch resistance. He didn't have that much punch resistance, and everything he got touched with, it seemed like he would go down. He didn't offer much as offense, and I'm not trying to say anything negative about the man. He seemed like he was a, live dog, just fighting out of his caliber. Even Triple G said, "I know this guy is not top level fighter." So I'm looking at this, he's looking at that as a tune-up fight, coming off of a hard fight against Deverenchenko, in which some people still feel like he lost that fight. I'm not one of those people. I felt like it was a tough fight, and it came down to a tooth and nail, but I felt like he edged it out with the power. And he edged it out with some power shots, but he was getting outboxed in some of those rounds. I still lean towards him getting that victory. I'm cool with that victory. So he can fight Triple G. Canelo can fight Triple G. Although I feel like Canelo has leveled up from the first fight, which was the closest fight they had, which was scored a split decision draw. Some people argued against that. I felt like that was fair when I watched that fight and analyzed that fight and really surgically break that fight down. You know what I'm saying? When I go through with the knife and dissect it. To me, that was a very, very close fight. Leaned a little bit towards Triple G because of the surprise element. I didn't think he would even do that well. and most people was looking for the knockout from Triple G, not against Canelo, but he's just a knockout artist. So I'm looking for the one-hitter knockout puncher, and I didn't think he could bang the way he banged with Canelo the first time. So I lean towards Triple G. I get the argument of him, getting robbed, but I still felt like a draw was understandable. Didn't agree with it, but I'm not going to argue, split hairs, and say, well, it was a definite victory for Triple G. It wasn't so clear as if they didn't need to fight again. When they fought again, and you had the rematch, I think Canelo showed improvement. I know there was a little bit of it. Nocturnal, you trip yourself out. I was going to say there was a little bit of an issue with the clenbuterol scandal. That's not a little issue. That's a major issue. But for me, that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother video. So the clenbuterol, but at the end of the day, they end up fighting, and I feel like in the second fight, Canelo did exactly what he needed to do. He made the adjustments, and he was the victor. So fighting a trilogy match, I felt like if boxing is business, and if it's a good business move, if it makes dollars, it makes sense. But as far as my interest, it doesn't pique my interest. You dig what I'm saying? So I'm gonna move on from that idea. A lot of people that I watch really was, asking for or cheering for or trying to generate the energy for a Canelo versus Jamar Charlo and Demetrius Andrade, but mainly Jamar Charlo. Now, at the time, I felt like it was premature. I felt like Jamar Charlo had not even earned his position to fight Canelo Alvarez at the time I first started hearing the whispers in the leaves. But, that's just my opinion. I don't disrespect anybody else's opinion. If they felt like he was in a position to fight Canelo and they felt like Canelo, ducked him, then, I understand where that notion comes from. I think it would be a good fight too. I think, Jamar Charlo has plotted a course, and his fight against Deverenchenko, gave him a good, knocked off a nice piece of the chest, knocked off a nice pond or a nice, how put it like this, Deverenchenko was tough. Deverenchenko was a better cross comparison against what he was able to do against Triple G, so that you can see, well, Deverenchenko was tough for Triple G. Triple G was tough for Canelo. Look how I dominated. This is Jamar Charlo. Look how I dominated Deverenchenko. That gives me a case to say I deserve a fight with Canelo, right? If you don't want to fight Triple G, fight me, Jamar Charlo. I think that'd be a bang fight. I think that'd be a barn burner. But I don't know if it'd be the biggest business move, because, like I said, Saul Canelo Alvarez put himself in a position where he can make any moves on the chessboard as he may will. With the franchise belt, with the going across the different weight class, he can move how he want to move, and he's going to make moves that's based on what's best for his career. You know what I'm saying? Not based off of what I want to see him do. So he chooses to go up and fight a Sergey Kovalev. That's the only fight that I feel like he fought that I didn't totally agree with. What was, I looked at that more of a sore on his career than I seen the clenbuterol scandal, because to me, the Kovalev was a rush fight for Kovalev. He obviously was coming off of a real tough fight with Yard, and he was exposed that he was soft in the gut. He got hurt in that fight. He came back as a champion and was victorious, but you've seen the wear and tear on him to turn around, not get time to recuperate, not get time to have a full training camp. It was almost where they was talking about not even giving him a comfortable rematch clause, like you can only gain up to 10 pounds. I think they retracted that. They said you can have you can have a rehydration, but at the end of the day, I still felt like they gave him enough. They offered him enough to make it worth his time to not have a full training camp, to not fully heal from a tough fight against Anthony Yarde, and come into the fight, unprepared, and he suffered the consequences with the brutal 11th round knockout. And we see a lot of people was like, that was a dive. That didn't look real. Some people was trying to sit there and analyze slow motion of punch and see if that was a knockout or not. I'm not that one that's going to argue whether he got knocked out. That's what it looked like to me. But I don't want to say he knocked out a 100% version of Sergey Kovalev. I think he knocked out a version of Kovalev that was still dealing with post-traumatic stress from his last fight. And, it is what it is. So, from that point, I'm like, depending on what Canelo does next, depends on, how I look at him, as far as I wanted to keep him up at that top pound for pound. You did, when he beat Daniel Jacobs. But the pound for pound thing is subjective to people's opinions. Anyway, let me digress. Let me keep on going with the path I'm going on. When he fought Sergey Kovalev, now he fought Caleb Smith. And people say he fought Caleb Smith, but he ducked out on Better Beef, right? He beat Caleb Smith, and the way that he beat him, taking the meat off the bone. Now let's see if he's going to fight Errol Spence. Now I feel like, to be all honest, I like Errol Spence. I respect Errol Spence. I salute Errol Spence. I think that dude is a beast. He's a dog. But I don't think he has enough for Canelo Alvarez. I feel like that'd be a big mistake for Errol Spence. I feel like that'd be equivalent to Roy Jones going up to heavyweight and then coming back down and never being the same Roy Jones Jr. When he went up to fight John Ruiz, he came back and he fought Tarver, and Tarver beat him once, then he beat him twice, and knocked him out the second time, and he beat him 3 times. Then he got beat by, what was the dude's name? I forget his name, but Glenn. He got beat by Glenn after that, Glenn Johnson. He just kept getting beat, just developed. After he went up in weight, he came back down. He was never the same. That's the same thing for Kell Brook. I would hate to see Errol Spence do the same thing that Kell Brook did. Kell Brook goes up to fight Triple G, takes so much punishment. He comes back down. He fights Errol Spence, and then he takes more punishment, and he's never the same guy. I think when you try to go for greatness, sometimes you can do some damage. I see what Errol Spence is calling out. He's been calling out Canelo for a while, but he called out Canelo, not necessarily, but he said he would fight Canelo at 160, right? And I even seen somebody make a long video off a 2-second tweet of Terrence Bud Crawford saying, "Oh, well, you see, he's ducking me because he's talking about fighting Canelo." Anybody get the opportunity to fight Canelo? If anybody thinks that Terrence Bud Crawford is a bigger fight than Canelo, you're from another planet. You know what I'm saying? So let me focus. Let me focus. Let me focus. Spence fighting Canelo, for me personally, is a no-go idea for Spence. He needs to continue his war path, try to get this fight with Manny Pacquiao, try to finish his business up with Terrence Bud Crawford, maybe knock out Keith Thurman. And I know he's just, kind of outgrown that division. He has to suck down his weight to get down to that 147. So he has to go up eventually. And he should go up and then see how everything is able to transfer. How is his speed, power, what adjustments will his body make? How long should he give himself time to adjust to that new division? And he shouldn't start at the top. He should start and work his way up. Same way Terrence Bud Crawford. Terrence Bud Crawford, when he came into the welterweight division, you didn't start at the top. You know what I'm saying? You ain't made it to the top yet still. But I wouldn't have wanted to see Terrence Bud Crawford come into the welterweight division and then fight the best they had to offer. You know what I'm saying? He had to get acclimated to that weight class. He got acclimated. Now he's calling out the big dogs. Now let's see what happens, right? But Errol Spence, big dog at the welterweight division right now. He's the top dog at the welterweight division right now. And I think he should stay there and reign supreme until he finishes that plan as far as unifying if he can. If he tries to move up, cool. But don't move up and try to fight Canelo, Saul Alvarez. I don't think that's a good move. Jamar Charlo versus, Canelo. Now I think that's very, very close, very, very close to a good move for Jamar Charlo. He not bringing a lot to the table. You know what I'm saying? He would have to take a huge. I would whatever they offer me, I would take it. I know there's been some talks about they offered me this and they offered me that, and it was like these fugazi offers that was trying to basically make it look like he's ducking the fight. I don't delve deep into the whole thing. You know what I'm saying? I try to skim through and gleam over everything, but to me it looks like Jamar Charlo really, really wants that fight, but he can't find out a way to trap Canelo into a fight with him. And honestly, the blueprint I would try to take, since you beat Derevyanchenko, your next move should be trying to beat Triple G, because Triple G, his last couple of performances wasn't that great. His Derevyanchenko and his Sarameta, those weren't great performances. They were nice, but they weren't phenomenal. What Canelo just did, in my opinion, was phenomenal. The shots looked crispy and crispy punches that landed hard, that snapped back to his head, that hurt him to the body. Just clean work all the way around. I can't find anything to criticize about the way he dismantled Caleb Smith. The interview after the fight, Caleb Smith said, "I've just been out the ring for a while and took me a while to get adjusted and acclimated." And I'm like, Canelo been out of the ring the exact same amount of time you've been out of the ring, and he came in sharp as a number 2 pencil. So, I mean, I really can't give you that benefit of the doubt. So I'm gonna move on anyway. Jamar Charlo, it would be a good fight, but I don't know if it would be a best business move. You know what I'm saying? But give a brother a shot. Other than that, they say he's afraid of better beef. I look at Billy Joe Saunders. Now, Billy Joe Saunders presents a little bit of an issue for Canelo because of his style. He's a southpaw, and he likes to actually box and move around the ring. We all know Canelo only has one loss on his resume, and that's to Floyd Money Mayweather, who is a world-class master boxer. So we also see that the southpaw that Canelo faced is Lori Londa, and he faced one more other southpaw. I forget his name. I apologize, but he struggled with Islori Londa. A lot of people felt like Canelo lost against Lara. I watched that fight a couple of times, and I see it was a close fight. And there's times where you can see Canelo, being outboxed and not being able to make the adjustments to cut the ring off. But at the same time, I feel like Canelo started to land some powerful body shots that slowed Lara down. And when I started looking at power shot after power shot after power shot, I seen Canelo slowly but surely taking control of that fight. And by the end of that fight, excuse me, by the end of that fight, I felt like Canelo was the victor. It was a tough fight. Laurie was slick, was moving, slippery. You know what I'm saying? Pop shot here, get out the way. But at the end of the day, I don't think he had enough. I didn't see him earn the respect. I saw him taking some shots to the body that was breaking him down. You know what I'm saying? So Billy Joe Saunders is a fighter similar to Islori Londa. He's southpaw. He likes to box and move around. He's pretty fast. Sometimes he's a little bit sloppy for me, and I think he gets hit unnecessarily. And I don't know what his punch resistance is like. It seems like to me when he gets hit, sometimes he's not able to recompose himself very fast in order to, handle the onslaught of the killer instinct of Canelo. Once he has you hurt, I mean, he is relentless. He goes for the jugular. He goes in for the kill, and it'd be a great fight. I can see it playing out to where Billy Joe Saunders might just be too fast, might be too good on his feet, might start having flashbacks of Isla Rolanda and Mayweather outboxing him. But the thing is, Canelo has made a lot of improvements over the years. He's added so many wrinkles to his game. He has one of the most complete tool sets in the game right now. I had never seen him hurt really at all. His main issue was his gas tank, and he's showing improve on that. So I don't think that Billy Joe Saunders would be as sure. It's tough to find a competitor that I think is going to cause a lot of trouble for Canelo Alvarez at this current time. And then Sweet Hands. Sweet Hands, Caleb Plant, that looks more, I can see that fight a little bit more how it would play out. Because Sweet Hands, you just got to be careful you don't get caught trading hooks with him because he'll put you down. He has some decent power. He's durable. He's tough. But I think looking at him, sizing him up against Canelo Alvarez, I think he get broke down. I think he would get broke down by Canelo. They both strong guys, both sturdy guys. But to me, Sweet Hands, I don't know. He can fight in the pocket. You know what I'm saying? He can fight in the pocket, but I think he just gets touched up. He gets touched up a little bit more. His defense is a little lacking in his defense. You know what I'm saying? So when I look at him fighting Canelo, I see Canelo breaking him down. These are my thoughts. Y'all let me know what y'all think. I think these are all tough fights between Caleb Plant, between Billy Joe Saunders, Better Beeve, Jamar Charlo, Triple G, Errol Spence. These are all good fights, all tough fights. So what would be the best business move, the bigger money move? You know what I'm saying? This is an art. This is an art. And the thing about artists is they normally don't get appreciated until they're dead and gone. And then when they're dead and gone, their art is worth millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. And the problem is, an artist can get a paintbrush and a canvas and have a great imagination and paint something beautiful. And people will look at that and they won't get it because art is subjective. So they won't get it. Then he'll die and then somebody will look at it and say, oh, that Van Gogh, oh, that Leonardo, oh, that Picasso. Oh, man, that's so much more valuable now over time. This thing is priceless. There's $50 million for this one piece of art. But a boxer who puts his life on the line, that goes into training camps, disciplines his diet, disciplines his life, takes away time for his family, going to the ring and fights a man and try to defeat that man, his fight, after it's paid for, it doesn't increase in value. You can't take that fight and then say, okay, every time you watch that fight, you're going to have to pay. Like, you can go watch a Money Mayweather fight on YouTube right now for free. You can't have it. Mayweather can't say, every time you watch my fight, you got to pay me, how much it's increased in value over time. You know what I'm saying? Because art increases in value over time. So let's think about it. It's a business move. I feel like these boxers have to make what's best for their career, what's best for their family, and trying to create wealth. Not riches, not some coins, not some dollar signs, but trying to create generational wealth. You know what I'm saying? So they have to sit down. If they playing chess, they have to make chess moves, king moves. They can't be making little, checker moves here, 5 steps here, 5 steps here. No, you got to be thinking from what's going to be the next thing that's going to carry over into generational wealth. That's what most of these boxers are doing now. Like Errol Spence is thinking like that now. That's why the whole Terrence Bud Crawford thing is kind of not as important. You know what I'm saying? We know what it is. We see what it is. Yeah, we all think they should fight, and the fight should happen this year. But still, at the same time, if Errol Spence has the ability to fight Manny Pacquiao or to fight Canelo Alvarez, these are big moves, big major moves. These are chess moves. But I digress from that. Let me see if there's anything else I wanted to talk about real quick. Billy Joe Saunders, he's a southpaw, tricky for Canelo. Jamar Charlo, I think Jamar Charlo should be trying to campaign to fight Triple G. If he fought Canelo, it'd be a good fight. I still lean a little bit towards Canelo. Right now, Canelo is, he's looking total package. Jamar Charlo against Better Beef, he looked good. He looked real good. He definitely dominated him. But Deverenchenko was already battered and bruised from Triple G. And I don't think he ever went down in that fight against Jamar Charlo, and he didn't get knocked out. So Jamar Charlo, I still feel like he should be building on his brand and building on his abilities and developing his skill and his craft. His resume is very impressive, and I think he has a shot at Canelo, but that's going to be time. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be a matter of time to see how Canelo's career runs its course. So that's all I really want to say about that. This video is the longest video I've done. I hope I chopped it up the way I want to chop it up. I see I got a few new haters on my channel too. And, I ain't going to sit and take aim and take out everybody that slights me. I'm going to put it like this. When I got the light, you know what I'm saying, glistening down on me, I'm going to say, I ask God for serenity, you know what I'm saying, to help me change the things that I can. Give me the courage, you know what I'm saying, the things that I can change, and let me know, give me, you know what I'm saying, the wisdom to know the difference between the things I can change and the things I can't change. Because at the end of the day, I'm just a human being. I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. I'm not going to go at every single hater, because if we all had an eye for an eye mentality, the whole world would be blind. But at the end of the day, nocturnal thoughts, revenge ain't sweeter than, it's only one thing sweeter than revenge, and we know what that is. If you don't know what that is, go ask Tupac. I'm out. Peace.